Hi everybody and welcome to my channel and welcome to another episode of DIY and Murder. If you're new to my channel, I've been trying to do these DIYs that I love to do and pair them up with murder stories to try something out a little bit different. I've done 3 of them so far. The first one, what I did, actually a very complicated DIY, and there was a little picture of me in the corner narrating the story, but a lot of feedback I got from that was that it was way too distracting, hard to focus on one thing because they're either looking at me, looking at the DIY. It was hard to do both. I did 2 videos like that because again, this is like a brand new idea. I'm just experimenting and trying to learn here. The third one I did is I did one with a complete voiceover and I got way better feedback that you guys liked that a lot better. It was way easier to follow the DIY and I absolutely agree. However, what I also noticed though is that I was only able to focus on one thing at a time still though. So like our brains, people say they can multitask, they can't multitask, okay? It's science. Our brain can only focus on one stimuli at a time. It might move very rapidly between different stimuli, but it really literally cannot focus on more than one thing at a time. And I feel like that's what was happening for me. Like I feel like my mind was switching very quickly to listen to the story and then it was going back to the DIY and the story and the DIY. And I was like, oh, there has to be a way that this could be more efficient. So also too, for everyone who has been following and watching and giving feedback, thank you so much for your feedback. Honestly, it makes it so much more helpful to understand and try to improve this, which led me to thinking of how can I make this easier and make the formatting better for this. And what I've been doing so far is I've been putting out 2 videos at a time, one video with the DIY and a murder story in the background for people who like that, and one just DIY regular video for people who like that. But I was like, okay, there has to be a better way to put this out there where I can get one video out there and everyone can enjoy this. I feel like I finally have figured out the formatting, so I'm crossing my fingers that I have the winner here, and your guys' feedback is going to be so valuable on knowing if I got this right. I'm no longer going to be doing the 2 videos at once. I'm going to just try to incorporate all this in one. So what I'm going to do DIYs is still the same. I'm going to walk you through the DIY like I normally would. And normally in every DIY I do, there's some sort of step that's kind of mundane that I normally would skip through, like show you 2 seconds of it and skip through. So some people like the skip through because I just wanted my videos to be short and sweet to get to the point, but I know some people actually like that process of watching things. One step that's really mundane, instead of fast forwarding it and not showing you guys, I'm gonna actually use one step in the whole DIY to tell the murder story. That way, if you don't like the murder story, I'll leave the time on the bottom of where you can fast forward ahead to skip that part so you don't lose any part of the DIY. And if you want to actually watch what I'm doing for the whole process, you can, but if you don't, then you don't have to. But if you actually really like the DIY and murder part and actually want to watch how I'm doing things, then this gives you the opportunity to do that. And the reason that I chose it this way is because I feel like those steps are so mundane. It doesn't take a lot of brain power to focus on those repetitive tasks. It's just gluing something on or painting something. So hopefully this is gonna make a lot more sense when you watch this video. But yeah, I would love to get your feedback, and if this was a lot easier to watch and a lot smoother, I'm really hoping this is the winner. But again, thank you so much for all your guys' feedback so far on helping me get to this point, and I really hope that this works out. Let's get started. All right, so what you're gonna need is some sort of side table. So I have this old one sitting here. It's like this black type of marbly one that's super old. I also got these 8 mirror tiles, or 5 inches on the side from Dollar Tree. And I got these 4 mirror tiles from Dollarama that are 10 inches, a glue gun, and optional some Windex to clean the mirror. So that's the first step. If you don't have to do this, but I recommend it, is clean the mirrors. These Windex little wipes for glass is amazing, so it clears it nice and beautifully, because you could see they were pretty filthy. So yeah, do that for all the mirrors. And then the next step is playing like a bit of Tetris. So when I was trying to put the mirrors on, they did not fit. So if you've seen my other videos, I have like a side coffee table that I made with mirrors as well. And I was really lucky and all of the mirrors lined up perfectly. But for this one, I wasn't as lucky. So I had to play around with it. You could see there was space. So I played around with it and tried to make a configuration that I liked. And once I was satisfied with that configuration, then that is what I was going to stick to. So this is kind of what I ended up doing, because I just really kind of liked how this look is a little bit different, and I like that the sides are kind of coaster. So yeah, this is what I decided to go with. And then the next step here is just to glue all the mirrors on. So pretty easy peasy. So now we'll start the story of who killed Debbie Timlock. So in a small town of Collingwood, Ontario in Canada, there was a woman, a 33-year-old woman named Debbie Timlock, who was a single mother of a 6-year-old daughter. So on June 19, 1989, she and some of her girlfriends wanted to go out. So she ended up dropping her daughter off at her parents' house to stay over. So after the girls' night was over, she went back home to her ground level apartment. It was a rainy, thundery day, but it was also really humid. So apparently she ended up leaving one of her kitchen windows open, most likely to try to cool down the apartment. And then she went to bed. Unfortunately, at night here, someone had broken into her home through that open window, went into her room, sexually assaulted her, and ended up stabbing her twice. One of the knife stabs were into her heart, and one was actually severed the spinal cord. And then that person left. So in the last moments of Debbie's life, she crawled to the telephone, paralyzed from the waist down because her spinal cord was severed, and was able to make a 911 call at 3:25 a.m. and then she passed away after that. When the next day, the investigators came to see everything, there was blood everywhere. There was just blood on the bed. There was just blood everywhere, and they couldn't find any fingerprints, not really evidence of anything. All that they were able to find was a tomato that had a footprint on it, or shoe print, sorry, and they found a pair of glasses that did not belong to Debbie. So that's all they had to work with. So the police were looking at 3 suspects. The first one was her ex-husband. They'd been divorced for 4 years, and they were sharing custody of their child. The second was this fellow named Ron Osborne, who she used to live with 4 years ago, and unfortunately he was involved in drug smuggling rings, and she unfortunately had to testify against him. And the last person was a former next-door neighbor of Debbie named James Brown. So I want you guys to stop here for a second and tell me in the comments below, who do you think that killer might be? I know there's very limited information, but take a guess right now. So her ex-husband had an alibi, so he's out. And her old roommate, Ron Osborne, was actually in jail in this time, so he's out. So they started looking at her former neighbor, because Debbie had mentioned to some other friends that he had been hitting on her before. He had actually done some previous jail time as well for some breaking in and entering, and also for some assaults. And he was like a big guy. He was 6'3" and 350 pounds, and he was a one-time hopeful for the Olympic wrestling team at one point. This is like a huge guy. So when he was in prison, they give these certain shoes out for people, and so it has a very specific pattern, and they ended up matching his shoes to the footprint on the tomato that was left on the scene of the crime. But that wasn't enough. So what they did was they got a professor of optometry to look at the glasses, because they didn't know how to link him to the glasses. But in his old jail photos, he actually was wearing the glasses. So this genius optometrist, he calculated the length of the eyes between James and the reflection of the camera on the glasses that somebody took of him when he was in prison, and was able to calculate the size of the glasses in the picture, which actually ended up being the same size that was at the crime scene. So these two things were able to link James to this murder. So he got convicted of a life sentence with no chance of parole for 25 years. I did do a little bit of an update to check out what's going on with him. So on October 16, 2008, he was granted full parole. And so what that means is essentially that there's some of the time he can spend out in the community. And I guess there's this Collingwood Facebook page where when he was released out, he was able to write something. So this is what he wrote on the Facebook page. So it was written, I know what I did, I have no excuse. 140 ounces of alcohol and drugs, all supplied by the Mountain View staff in 3 hours. I also have no memory of it. Never asked for forgiveness or to be forgotten. And before this happened, I was still born and raised in Collingwood. What people think is relevant, what I do with my life going forward is what matters. I know I can't make it right or even make up for what I've done, but as long as I try to leave the world a better place, and after 26 years, 7 months, I may have earned at least a chance. It's not 100% confirmed if it was him or not, but we're just assuming that it is him. People protested for him to get off of the page, and then that account was shortly shut down. But yeah, so that is the killing of poor Debbie Timlock. Like, rest in peace to her soul of what a senseless crime. So yeah, I'm curious to know, did you get the murderer right or did you get it wrong? So let me know if you liked playing this little game. And now back to finishing this DIY. And the last step here is just to decorate the rest of the mirror, and that is literally the whole thing. So let me just remind you what this looked like before. So here was the before of the table. So again, pretty plain Jane, super duper simple, and adding a little bit of mirrors and a little bit of decor, and voila, here is the final result. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like, what do you guys think? I know this is super simple, but I liked how simple it was. You can definitely do more. You can paint the table, you can add some glitter or glam, but I really liked how simple and nice this looks. So that was my final result. And I'm even more extra excited because if you've seen my videos before, I made this table 2 years ago and it still sits in my living room exactly the same. I'll link it down below if you do want to see how I transformed like a plain table into this coffee table, but now I have a matching side table to this. So now my living room furniture is complete. So I absolutely love that I have matching furniture. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Till next time, bye!